Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Evening Devotion. Well, anybody ever tells you you can't get jet lag from driving, they are wrong. You can get jet lag from driving. But it was a good trip. It was a great trip. And I'm super, super thankful that I had an opportunity to be able to share at least a little bit of that with you guys. Even if it's just a few pictures, but it's amazing. I've got to get a better camera. I thought that phone would have a better camera on it, but I guess not. I'm going to play with the settings, see if I can get it to make clearer images, even when I zoom in. But we'll work with what we have, because this is what we have. And I'm thankful that I have what I have, and that I'm able to do what I do. And especially that I'm able to share it with you guys, all my brothers and sisters. And it's not me bragging on this trip, but we didn't have the money for this trip. My daughter actually had the money, and she said, I'll pay for the trip if you bring that stuff up here, because we took her a washer and dryer. Her actual washer and dryer that was stored, and we're not rich. She paid for that trip, so just like the one in Arizona and the second one in Arizona, that trip was paid for by our friend that we were driving for, taking her stuff out to her. So, but I'm so thankful that number one, the Lord provides that kind of stuff and those opportunities for us to be able to see His creation real time, and that He provides the way for us to do that, and that He allows me to be able to share it with you guys. I love it. The privilege to be able to see God's creation, even if it's a little bit in its glory. It's actually wonderful. People who travel all around the world, I hope they don't take it for granted that they do that, because most people don't get to do that. Most people don't get to see the things they see. It's amazing. This evening we're going to be reading out of Nehemiah 3:8, and they fortified Jerusalem unto the broad wall. The whole verse says, next to him Uzziel, the son of Hariah, one of the goldsmiths, made repairs. Also next to him, Hananiah, one of the perfumers, made repairs. And they fortified Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. Now, this is something that they were doing, all the people. And it's interesting to note, all these people, goldsmiths, perfumer, and there's other people too, that we're going to read a few of them here. Even down here, the son of her. All these different people, all different walks of life, all different skill sets, are all working the same work of putting Jerusalem back together, getting the wall built. Even though they all have different professions, they're all doing the same work. How is that not a shadow of what we do right now? All of us from around the world, different professions, different lifestyles, different levels in society, all doing the same work, spreading the word of the Lord. See, the Lord uses everybody for His glory. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll start here in verse 1. Rebuilding the wall. Then Eliashib, the high priest, rose up with his brethren and priests and built the sheep gate. They consecrated it and hung its doors. They built as far as the Tower of the 100 and consecrated it. Then as far as the Tower of Hananel. This is a lot of wall they built. If you've ever seen pictures, at least seen pictures of the wall there now, I believe this is either that wall or it's the original wall's under it. I know that there's another wall underneath the wall today around Jerusalem, but I'm not sure on the timing on which one's which. Like the East Gate, there's the original East Gate is underneath it, and it's only off by like 2 inches, but it's directly underneath it. Pretty interesting. There's a lot of history there, and the Lord's going to reveal all that later, but all that stuff is still there, and it's big. And these guys built it. The Bible makes it sound like it was no big deal. Verse 2, next, we can't do it today. Next to Eliashib, the men of Jericho built. And next to them, Zakur, the son of Imri, built. Also the sons of Hassanah built the fish gate. They laid its beams and hung its doors with its bolts and bars. And next to them, Meremoth, the son of Urijah, the son of Koz, made repairs. Next to them, Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, the son of Meshezabel, made repairs. Next to them, Zadok, the son of Baana, made repairs. Next to them, the Tekoites made repairs, but their nobles did not put their shoulders to the work of the Lord. Interesting, remember what I told you at the beginning? How is this not the same as what we're doing now? Look, they didn't put their shoulders to the work of the Lord. What's the work of the Lord? Now, they're talking about they're building this. They were given a command to do this from the Lord. What are we talking about today? What's the work of the Lord today? Spreading the gospel. Put your shoulder to the work. Put your hand to the plow. See the connections between the verses here in the Old and New Testament? Moreover, Jehoiada, the son of Paseah, and Meshullam, the son of Besadiah, repaired the old gate. They laid its beams and hung its doors with its bolts and bars. And next to them, Melatiah the Gibeonite, Jadon the Maranathite, the men of Gibeon and Mizpah repaired the residence of the governor of the region beyond the river. Next to him, Uzziel, the son of Hariah, one of the goldsmiths, made repairs. Also next to him, Hananiah, one of the perfumers, made repairs. And they fortified Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. And next to them, Rephaiah, the son of Hur, leader of half the district of Jerusalem, made repairs. Next to them, this is a leader. This is a leader doing work. Next to them, Jediah, the son of Harumaph, made repairs in front of his house. And next to him, Hattush, the son of Hashabniah, made repairs. Malchijah, the son of Harim, and Hashab, the son of Pahath-Moab, prepared another section, as well as the Tower of the Ovens. Next to him was Shalem, the son of Hadasheth, leader of half the district of Jerusalem. He and his daughters made repairs. Hanun, the son, and the inhabitants of Zanoah repaired the valley gate. They built it, hung its doors with its bolts and bars, and repaired 1,000 cubits of the wall as far as the refuse gate. Let's pause there for just a second. Let's get some perspective. Let's see. 1,000 cubit is 0.2 miles, 2/10 of a mile. Go out and walk 2/10 of a mile and see how long that is. You're going to freak out. It doesn't sound like a lot. That's actually quite a bit. 1,000 cubits. Whew. As far as the refuse gate, Malchijah, the son of Rechab, leader of the district of Beth Hakarim, repaired the refuse gate. He built it and hung its doors and its bolts and bars, and it just keeps going. Now, this is a boring part of the Bible. This is one of those parts of the Bible that's like, this is so boring. Why do we need to know this? Well, what did I already profess to you guys? What did I already share with you? Instant connections. I'm reading this in connection. Because when you're familiar with more of the Bible, more of these connections start to stand out. You start to like, wait a minute. There's another shadow. There's another connection. There's another dot to connect the line to. So these boring parts, just like I told you recently, these boring parts, they're here for a reason. And they have a lot more to teach us if we would but read them. Cities well fortified have broad walls, and so had Jerusalem in her glory. The new Jerusalem must, in like manner, be surrounded and preserved by a broad wall, listen, this isn't a physical wall, of nonconformity to the world and separation from its customs and spirit. It's okay as a Christian to go to the grocery store and go to the doctor. It's not okay as a Christian to go and join in with things that they know are evil, to get involved in ministries that don't profess God, to claim some type of faith or allegiance or attachment to things of the world that are directly from Satan. And yet the problem is a lot of Christians do that today. Come out for my people. The tendency of these days break down the holy barrier. He's speaking on his time, but does that not apply to now? It's so much distraction, and it's designed to keep a person from having faith. The tendency of these days break down the holy barrier and make the distinction between the church and the world merely nominal. The only difference most people can detect between a person who goes to church, a person who calls himself a Christian, and themselves who confirm they are non-believers is the fact that non-believers don't go to church and these people do. In many cases, in the multitude of cases, this is the comparison. Well, y'all go to church, we don't. And that's the only difference they can find. Because, as has been studied over and over again, just in the last 30, 40 years, you can't tell the difference between a born-again believer and a non-believer. And what's funny is, and I'm not talking about an actual born-again believer, it's a false professor, but you can't tell the difference. And in a lot of cases, those people who call themselves Christians are worse than the unbeliever. Well, maybe that's because they're not really Christians. Everybody is a little bit of a hypocrite. What's called Christianity today has a level of hypocrisy that is legendary. Everybody is a little bit selfish. What's called Christianity today, I'm using air quotes here, the level of selfishness is off the charts. It's a terrible state that we're in, and we wonder why judgment starts in the house of God, or like one guy said, judgment starts from the house of God. Here first, and then out to the world. It's no wonder that God's judgment is on everything right now. The whole world is under the judgment of God, and he's going to judge this world for wrath. That's the tribulation. Judgment doesn't happen in the tribulation, it happens before it. We're there. Professors, not educational professors, but professors of being Christian, are no longer strict and puritanical. Questionable literature is read on all hands. If you know who you are, admit it. Frivolous pastimes, we're all guilty of that, are currently indulged, and a general laxity threatens to deprive the Lord's peculiar people of those sacred singularities which separate them from sinners. If we align ourselves with the things of the world and get involved in the things that the world gets involved in, we are doomed to follow after them. Now, I am not going to sit here and say I am perfect. I am not. I am worse than most. But there are things that I've noticed that the Lord has brought me out of to not partake in involving the world. I don't go to movie theaters anymore. That was my thing. I could hear, somebody could turn a movie on a TV. I could hear just a few notes of the opening score of music and tell you what movie it is. I could hear somebody speaking a line that they're watching a scene and tell them exactly what movie it is and what part of the movie it's in. Somebody could show me a picture of an actor in their role in a movie, and I could tell them what movie it was and what part of the movie it was. Unnatural and uncanny ability to remember this stuff. Now my short-term memory is shot now. But my thing was movies. I loved watching movies. All of a sudden, everything changed about 4.5 years ago. I no longer had the desire to watch movies anymore. I don't even watch them on TV. I don't even watch TV. I watch YouTube because the information I'm looking for is there. I can't find it anywhere else. I used to go to karaoke clubs or karaoke bars. Don't do that. I used to go to bars. Don't do that. There's a lot of things I used to do. I don't do them anymore. I don't go to restaurants very often. It's not me personally. I just naturally started going away from those things. And I couldn't identify it before until I started to notice, wait a minute, this is a pattern here. And I realized it was the Lord pulling me away from those things. Don't get involved in that stuff. And people would say, well, why restaurants? Well, first of all, especially nowadays, it's a waste of money. You can cook it at home. Second of all, most of these businesses are tied into demonic organizations. And so, in essence, you're eating food sacrificed to idols. I didn't know this until fairly recently, a year or two ago. I didn't realize this until I started looking into it and realized, whoa, I did not realize that. When you don't know, don't ask. That way there's no guilty conscience there. The Bible talks about that. The New Testament says, don't eat things sacrificed to idols, but be thankful and eat what's put in front of you. But for conscience sake, don't ask if it was sacrificed to idols. Just leave it alone. Some places I will go because they're not part of that stuff, but there's some that I won't go to anymore because they are part of that stuff. It's just something the Lord's been doing in me personally. And I know a lot of you guys have this same testimony. The Lord's leading you away from those things, those worldly things. It's natural separation. He's separating out his people. It's supposed to happen. But this should be something that marks us as true believers when we are separate from the world. Different than everyone else. If you can look at a Christian and an agnostic, a Christian and an atheist, a Christian and just a flat unbeliever, and you can't tell the difference other than one of them goes to church and the others don't, there's a problem. That Christian, that person calling themselves a Christian, there should be notable differences between their lifestyle and the other people. Notable. Not notable in a bad way, but notable in a good way. It will be an ill day for the church and the world when the proposed amalgamation shall be complete, and the sons of God and the daughters of men shall be as one. Then shall another deluge of wrath be ushered in. He's talking about the rapture and the tribulation. He's talking about the rapture of the church and then the tribulation. Beloved reader, be it your aim in heart, in word, in dress, in action, to maintain the broad wall, all of your life, every aspect of your life, remembering that the friendship of this world is enmity against God. We are not to be conformed to this world and what they want to do. It's easy when you go into prayer and ask the Lord, Lord, what does this look like? Reveal this to me. Give me discernment on this so that I know what I should do and know what I shouldn't for your glory. All of a sudden, your perspective will change. I speak from personal experience. And you'll realize, no, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this. I've told people no. I've told people, no, I'm not going to go that route because it's not right to go that route. My daughter was like, oh, okay, she got off work. She was tired. And they came in and sat down, and they're like, oh, and she looks at me, okay, we're going to do shots. I'm going to start doing shots. I said, no, thanks. Because I already knew where something like that was going to go, and there's no reason to go there. There's no reason to sit around and drink a bunch. No, thanks. We're all tired. We all really need just to go to bed. You know what happened 20 minutes later? We all went to bed. They may not like you for who you are or what you do, but they will appreciate you. And you will have an effect on them without even realizing it. You living for God will have an effect on them. The people around me quote scripture and are reminded of Bible verses without me even saying anything, even if it's to correct me on something or remind me of something I might be making a mistake on. And I love every time it happens because it's God working in them. It's a beautiful thing. The only way this happens is if we are living differently than everyone else. Be responsible. Have integrity. Do the right thing. The broad wall afforded a pleasant place of resort for the inhabitants of Jerusalem, from which they could command prospects of the surrounding country. This reminds us of the Lord's exceeding broad commandments, in which we walk at liberty in communion with Jesus, overlooking the scenes of earth. How funny, I just got a chance to do that at the mountains. And looking out towards the glories of heaven. This is interesting. The Lord's exceeding broad commandments. Was it the 10? No. Those are God's commandments. Jesus had a whole different set, like 157 of them. Do a study on that and see what you find. And then apply it to your life and see what you come up with. It's actually pretty interesting. But it goes to show us the truth of the matter. And it shows us much differently, in more detail, what the leaders of the church at large have told us over the years. We've been lied to. Or we've been denied certain information. Separated from the world and denying ourselves all ungodliness and fleshly lusts, we are nevertheless not in prison, nor restricted within narrow bounds. Nay, we walk at liberty because we keep his precepts. You're not being denied those things. You do it naturally because your desire is to do it. People don't understand that. Oh, y'all will follow Jesus. Y'all believe in God. You just don't want to do anything. He takes all the fun away. There's no fun in that stuff. No, you don't understand. He doesn't make me do any of this. I am fully within my right to do any of those things as a Christian. I don't do them because I don't want to do them, because I want to glorify him. If I do them, it doesn't glorify him. If I don't do those things, it does glorify him. You've got it all wrong. It's not him making me do this. It's me choosing to be this way. Big difference. Nay, we walk at liberty because we keep his precepts. Go into the New Testament and find every single time Jesus said, do this, don't do this. There's your commands. There's your commandments of Christ. There's your precepts. Look at the example he set as a human. Come, reader, this evening walk with God in his statutes. As friend met friend upon the city wall, so meet thou thy God in the way of holy prayer and meditation and reading the word, by the way. This are the bulwarks of salvation thou hast a right to traverse, for thou art a freeman of the royal burg, a citizen of the metropolis of the universe. We are of royal lineage because the Lord has made us born again. Let us show the attributes of somebody who is born again. Stand your ground when you know truth and you know what you're saying is right. Stand your ground when somebody is doing wrong and wants to try to drag you into it. No, thank you. You'll have to get rough with them. I've had to. I've mentioned this before. Oh, you're here. You want to drink? No, no, thank you. Oh, you're too good to drink with us? No, I'm an adult and I make my own decisions over my life, and I have decided I don't want to drink with you. So grow up, get over it, and go bother somebody else. I don't have time for this. Problem solved. They don't. Whoa, hold on a minute. You ain't got to be like that. Yes, I do, because that's all you understand. Beat it. Go sit down somewhere. Let the adults talk. Ranty Ranterson would come out and start yelling. Those are old videos. If you're a new subscriber, those are videos from way back. There's a playlist on them. But they don't understand. I may be here within your group. I may be here with you. I may be here hanging out with you. But if I'm looking at the situation and clearly see there's a problem or possibly a problem, I'm not going to get involved in it because the Lord expects me not to. Now, if I go over to a friend's house and it's just a few of us, we're sitting around, we're grilling and have a whiskey and Coke or have a beer or something like that. Now, a lot of people that bothers them. That's okay. If I know the situation is right, I'll have a drink. One, maybe two. I don't go any further than that because we need to be on our guard because it could go bad. Now, if I come into the situation, even if it's people I've known for years, and I can see right away there might be a problem, I don't drink anything. No thanks, I'm not drinking today. Oh, come on. Nope. We are at liberty to enjoy the things of life, but not at the expense of God's glory. Not if it's going to put us in a situation of alignment with the world, with the people who are earth dwellers of the world. So it's a judgment call every single time. There's nothing wrong with you going and hanging out with the people of the world, people that aren't saved. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with you getting involved in some of those things. But when you see, okay, I'm not going to do this. Hey, we're all going to take a run down to the karaoke bar. Or, hey, we're going to go run over here to this place and meet up with a couple of guys. Hey, why don't y'all come along? No, I'm going to pass. No, come on. Nope. Not happening. The more harder they push, I push back just a little bit harder than they do. No, thank you. And if they push more, I'm going home. I'll see y'all later. They'll live. You're not hurting them then. But what you are doing is setting a precedent. You're setting a standard and an example that they don't ever see in other people because everybody's just like, oh, I want to be cool too. I just go and get along. It doesn't work that way. We should be putting our shoulder to the work of the Lord, not getting ourselves distracted in those things. Again, in your own personal life, you'll have to make your own decisions about this. You're going to have to make your own judgment calls. But if you're reading the Bible, if you're in prayer to the Lord, if you're asking Him to show you these things, you can see them in your own life. And you'll know, you know what? I mean, there's times I even feel the conviction immediately when it's mentioned. No thanks. No thanks, because this is going to go a bad direction. I didn't go on a trip here last year to Missouri. My wife was going to visit family. I didn't go on that trip on purpose. I knew right away something wasn't going to be right. I'm glad I didn't go because the story she told of what happened between her and her family and some of the things that were going on, I'm glad I wasn't there. And where they all ended up, I'm glad I wasn't there. Now, however, something very interesting happened. I've never talked about this. But the Lord convicted my wife and gave her discernment to change how she responds to her own family and change how she gets involved in those situations. Even to the point of, and my wife, she gets around her family, they're all heavy drinkers. My wife's not, but she gets around them, she'll drink a lot because she feels comfortable, she's around family. But in one instance, she said, I knew right away if I drank, it was going to go bad, and I knew I didn't need to. I said, that's the Lord convicting you of the right thing to do. Even in those situations He works. It's amazing. It's intricate, and it's amazing to witness this happen, to see these things happen, and then to look at yourself and see the changes happening in you because of what the Lord is doing and how He is separating you out from the world. And it's amazing. It's incredible. to know that he is so specifically involved in our lives. And the more you walk according to what he wants you to do, the more you listen to this word and apply it to yourself and others, the more you walk in his statutes and precepts, the more you listen and do his commandments. If you love me, keep my commandments. Jesus said specifically, if you love me, keep my commandments. Go to the New Testament. Find them. They're everywhere. The more you start to do those, the more he leads you into doing those, to the point that you'll become like a rock. You'll become a stable position. You'll become somebody everybody knows they can rely on. They may not like you. They may not like you very much, but they will appreciate you a great deal, even if they don't like you. I know this personally happens to me. I'm not special. There's nothing about me that makes me unique. In fact, most of the time I'm a jerk. And I come across that way, even if I don't mean to. But that's because I know what the Lord expects and I know what he doesn't. And when the conviction comes to not get involved, I'm not getting involved. And if they don't like it, I'll be more than happy to tell them. I don't care if you don't like it. I'm an adult. I make my own decisions. You don't dictate what I do. You don't pay the bills for my household. You don't pay me a paycheck. I don't work for you. So you don't get to tell me what to do. It sounds like I'm being a jerk, but you know what? Sometimes that's what you got to be. A lot of the men in the Bible were that way too. Hard-nosed, stiff-necked, forehead of flint. Remember we talked about that in one of the devotions? A forehead of flint. I'm going to set your face against theirs and make you bold against them. Salt and light. Salt seasons. Salt also preserves. Salt also is bitter. Light. Light illuminates the way. It also blinds you. It also brings a lot of heat with it. Sometimes that's just the way it is. This may be confusing to a lot of people because you've never heard this before. Go to the Bible. See for yourself. Find it in the scriptures. Do the Google searches on the key words I used here. Find it in the scriptures and read it. The Lord will reveal these things to you because that's how he did it for me. And I'm just sharing with you what he's shown me. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's amazing because he is beautiful. He is gorgeous. He is amazing. He is our God. Jesus is our Lord. And the truth is right before us, right here in our hands, the more sure word, and that truth shall set us free. Be free, my brothers and sisters. Be free. And be ye separate. Because that's what the Lord wants. And since we love him, we want to do what he tells us to do. It's that easy. I love you all very much. I bless you all in Jesus' name. I will see you in the next video.